My name is John Maddog Hall. I'm the Executive Director of Linux International and the President of Project Caua.
And speaking of Project Caua, could you give us a short history of it and maybe describe what you're involved in at the moment too?
About 8 years ago, I was going to Latin American countries, and particularly Brazil, and I had people come up to me and say, "Maddog, how do we make a living off of free software?" So I started thinking about it and started especially thinking about high-density urban areas and in hot climates where there's a lot of computers that use a lot of electrical power. And I said, do we really need to have all those computers have that much electrical power, or can we get away with perhaps a client-server relationship where thin clients providing the services? And also, could people actually have this as a business, one-on-one business, one person, one business? And I started formulating a business plan around that. And as I started to expand it, I realized that taken to its extreme, you could have between 1 to 2 million new high-tech jobs in Brazil, with another 3 to 4 million new high-tech jobs in the rest of Latin America. So we went through several different renditions of this, and each one of them had a stopping point. So recently we came up with a third round of this, which we think is going to be very successful. It's going to be aimed particularly at university students who are very poor, and there's a lot of them in Brazil, who would like to go to university. Even though the university is free of tuition, they still need money for an apartment, for food, for transportation and books. So we're going to allow them to work part-time at providing first-line support for small business owners. People who have computers, but they can't afford to have a systems administrator to take care of them. And this would be kind of a preventive service to keep their computers from going down. These students would go in and install new software for them, have new hardware. They would look at the logs to make sure the logs were, disks weren't filling up or things like that. And they basically would spend about 3 hours every week with each customer doing whatever the customer needed to have a better computing experience. And we feel that this would actually benefit the customer. We have actual case studies to show the benefits for the small business person. And with these students having about 5 to 6 customers, that means they're working about 15 to 18 hours a week, and the rest of the time would be free for their studies. This is a much better job than flipping hamburgers, which down in Brazil you might pay about $1.75 an hour for. And plus, it's towards what they're studying. It's computer science. They're learning to be a better computer person. So Project Caua would be a nonprofit organization that actually provides backup services for these people, training in business, in how to set up their business, how to run their business, how to do cash flow, how to approach a customer. We will provide the marketing materials and the legal backing for setting up contracts and things like that. We actually have about 4 or 5 students that are doing this now on a trial basis, and in February we plan on expanding that to about 1,000 students doing this. And after that, there really isn't anything that would stop it. Our website will be open for anybody who wishes to go there and read the information. They don't even have to register. If they wish to interact with other entrepreneurs, they will have to register. But that's all, they don't have to pay any money. And finally, if they want to become a real Project Caua entrepreneur and use the brand and trademark, they'll have to submit to a code of ethics, which the entrepreneurs themselves will come up with. So this is the project as it is now. Like I said, it's in a kind of a very small pilot, and we're going to be building the website over time. And in February, we expect to go in full bore.
Superb. And just love to see, there's a lot of discussion about the IoT here, and I'd just love to hear your thoughts on how significant you think this is going to prove in the history of the internet, and what the major sort of points of energy and significance are within its emergence.
Well, I think it's going to be very big. I mean, I'm a great fan of iRobot, and in one of those they had a very intelligent house that I've dreamed of for years to be able to have. I think the real thing about the Internet of Things is standards. We need to have standards so that people can create plugins for different types of devices. And we especially don't have, there should not be a Sony standard and an Ericsson standard and a different types of standards. There should be one standard so that all the devices can speak to each other. We also have to be gateways so that a Sony TV can talk to a Westinghouse refrigerator. I mean, the other night I came downstairs and there was my refrigerator talking with my microwave oven, trying to negotiate what we were going to eat the next day, right? And the microwave said, no, I can see that grungy stuff in the back. You're not putting that in me, And the garbage disposal said, hey, I'll take it. So, but we need to have that type of thing. We need to have standards, and we also need to have open source. And I think people have already seen what happens when evil forces, let's put it that way, take over things like routers and things like that because of a bug in the system, and they create botnets. Now multiply that by 1 billion times with all of these little Internet of Things monitors and sensors out there. We need to be able to change the code. We need to be able to update it long after the creator of that has gone out of business. And I think that this is a very important thing. Also, so that you can inspect it to make sure that that thing is not telling people more stuff than you care to have them know about you. These are all things I think are very important, and why the Internet of Things has to be standard and it should be open source. Well, I look at conferences like this as a chance for me to go around and talk to some of the vendors, some of the carriers, and to talk to them about open source and free software and how it can help them. Most of them already understand about free software and open source way more than when I started this 20 years ago. But the thing is now to help them tune their business models so that they can understand how they can make money and save money. I used to go around talking about the saving money. Use free software because it's basically free, pull it down off the internet. Well, the thing is that nothing is ever really free. You always have some cost to it. But now I realize that it's the value of the software, being able to change it and meet your needs, that's the most important thing. Because when you talk about freedom and cost, you can only go so low. You can only go down to zero. But when you talk about value, it can be almost infinite. And that's the most important thing.